Z to Z Podcast presents Review Z.
Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to the Review Z Podcast, the game review of the Z to Z Podcast. The game has achievements, then we try to cover it here. I'm your host, Damien, and thank you for listening. If you've listened to the Z to Z Podcast in the past, then you're familiar with our format. We bring you a separate weekly show covering just reviews of new and sometimes overlooked Xbox titles. And don't forget to check out the regular Z to Z Podcast while you're at it. That show's good too, just like this one, but we have more vitamin D. This week, I'm joined by Warren, Joe, and Tarragon. Warren and I will be rocking out to Air Guitar Warrior for Kinect, while Joe and Tarragon will be trying to solve the mystery in Thimbleweed Park. And with that, hey there, Warren.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's a great day out here. So, Air Guitar Warrior for Kinect. So, amazing. There's a Kinect for Xbox One. Some people might remember having bought that.
I mean, I got the thing with mine, so I kind of want to grab all the games I can that support it.
Yeah, so the publisher and developer is both Virtual Air Guitar Company. This came to Xbox One on March 29th, 2017. It is an Xbox One only title with an Xbox Live store price of $19.99. And I guess we would say this is an exclusive, right? It's not available on PS4.
Correct. Then again, typically when you look for exclusives, you're not thinking this kind of game?
Yeah. What, Kinect?
Yes.
I'm amazed this stage we are still talking about a Kinect, and we're not completely late going, hey, it was the launch title. So this game, it is actually so where people are thinking Kinect, it's not a jumping around Kinect game. It's really just, well, it's air guitar, but it's a shooter. It's a side scroller shooter.
I mean, one of the cool things about this was that, yeah, you can actually play this one seating. There's not that many Kinect-style games that you can sit down and play. This one actually tracks your hands very well, to the point that you can just be sitting down on your couch, on a chair. It doesn't matter. It seems like it picks you up pretty good no matter how you're sitting.
See, I don't know. I mean, I would have times like when I was first playing it, it seemed like the tracking was great, but then I would have other times, I don't know if you experienced this, it would start shooting for me in different modes going, you're shooting, well, so maybe to explain, so there's four, I guess you would say like high burst, short burst, high rapid, low rapid, right? Like, so if your hand's out and you're strumming slow, you do like a big burst. And then if your hand's out and you do a faster strum, it's a shorter burst. And then if you have your hands like closer in together, like you're doing one of those high pitch, like it goes for more of a rapid fired style.
Correct.
But I would find it would start firing randomly. Like, sometimes when I was playing, I would just be sitting there with my hand. I haven't even started strumming. And it's just going, nope, you're firing. And
I had that happen once, but I figured out I was wearing a shirt that was kind of the same color as my hands. I started wearing a different color shirt, and it worked fine.
Maybe I should truly go Rockstar, and I shouldn't be wearing a shirt. Maybe I should test that out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Full metal.
So as you said, it's a side scroller, but I think it really took the tongue-in-cheek nature. It reminds me of if Spinal Tap made a modern day video game and just it layered on the absurdity of what is metal is the best I could put it.
Exactly. From your mount, like whatever it is that you're riding on while you're shooting, to the actual stuff you're shooting itself. I mean, it's all stereotypical metal. I mean, you're riding things like eagles, dragons, motorcycles, shooting skulls and sharks. Yeah. I mean,
sharks with totally laser beams, sharks with lasers
actually attached to their foreheads too.
Yeah. That was. And then, yeah, so you're riding a shark, shooting lasers at flaming skulls that come from above. And It's very, and I liked all the metal quotes going, what was it, like Trent Reznor's, if an instrument breaks on stage, it's mocking you and must be destroyed. And just kind of, I really don't think so. I don't think those quotes ever happened. Maybe they did. I don't know. It's metal, so some of them might sit there like, it's plausible. I could see that being said.
Yeah. It definitely adds more of an interesting touch to the loading screens because, what are you going to have? Like, strum this way every time?
Yeah. So for a game that takes use of the Kinect, right? There's not many of them, I think, other than if you're still doing Xbox Fitness, which I think is kind of the de facto standard of a premium AAA. This is what good tracking could get. Versus, like, I think back to the Xbox 360 days. You had either a few titles that were like, hey, these have really great tracking. And then you have other titles which were just, the skill in the game wasn't actually doing that. It would just get the Xbox 360 Kinect to actually track you. This one was actually good tracking. You know, it's not as, I would say, crisp and clean as in something like Xbox Fitness, but on a $20 title, I think the tracking was still better than a lot of the titles one would have seen for an Xbox 360 Kinect title.
I completely agree. With 360 Kinect games, I have to kind of turn on extra lights in the living room, make sure I push all the furniture out of the way. This didn't seem to make a difference. I didn't need the extra light. It saw me just fine. If anything, it actually saw me too good. When my strumming hand was a little too low or a little too high above my like fretting hand, it wouldn't know that I was trying to strum and just kind of sit there.
Yeah. So the tracking's good. You don't have to have a masterful understanding of terms like fretting and whatnot. Like, you just really, if you've ever air guitared, you could play this game. But you do have to know it's not all the same, right? There is about speed and where on the, like, you can't always be on a high-end guitar, not a high-end, but, you know, like a guitar solo where you're just like, yeah, that's like in real life guitar, right? You're not always in a guitar solo. There's still chord and getting through the rest of the song.
Which is probably why they made it so that you have like a limited amount of ammo for each like fire type, so that you're not playing a high solo the whole time. You're not playing those long grindy riffs the whole time. You actually have to kind of blend a song sort of together.
Yep. However, you don't actually have to play to the song. So I did find, I'm not sure about you, but the actual, I thought the graphics were well done. The you know, just the environment and all that was great. I was kind of a little disappointed with the songs themselves, though. I found myself being just fine just playing it with mute or just having something else on in the background that was more, like,
yeah, the music, honestly, it seems like it's generic. It's kind of, it's metal feely music, but it's nothing that stands out. There's no one song that's like, yes. It's all just kind of the same.
Yeah, and actually, so I think to the game like Guitar Hero, right? You need to be playing. Well, I know you would get in an argument with me at your level of Guitar Hero-ness, but basically, you need to listen to the song while you're playing because it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like, the notes would make no sense if you didn't have sound because it kind of correlates with how the song is going. This, on the other hand, you don't need the sound to kind of know, oh, I should be doing a power chord or I should be doing, you know, just like a
correct
riff. It's
yeah,
just
I don't think
how many enemies on the screen. Yeah. So because of that, it's an air guitar game, and I have to not get on the sound where you're going, yeah, that could have been maybe some either. Now, I know probably from a licensing standpoint, you couldn't. It would be much more expensive to have actually really, you know, gone out there and licensed, you know, like how Guitar Hero does. But I don't know. I figure for everything else that was done so well, that just felt kind of,
It works and it doesn't. Like you say, it's kind of a bummer because it is generic music. On the other hand, the fact that you can kind of just cut that stuff down to about 1:30 each makes it so that you're not really getting fatigued while you're playing each level. It kind of gives it I can pick it up, play for 10, 20 minutes and put it down and not feel like you've wasted time.
Yeah, I will say that's the thing, because that's one thing that always drove me nuts in Guitar Hero, or any song. Don't get me wrong, I love music. But when you're going into a 4-minute song sometimes and you're sitting there playing, you just get in that, I don't know about you, when you're staring at the screen too long, you get in that, what was I doing? Kind of that daze. So the fact that I think the longest song is like 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and everything is usually sub 2 minutes, like 1:30, 1:40. Again, it's a much more, especially when you're playing air guitar and you're trying to do like the different, chords just so you can vary your shot types. Again, it didn't get like you were 3 minutes into a song and you die and you're like, no, I gotta do it all over again. You're like, oh, it's a minute.
Exactly. Not a big deal. And the replay is actually still kind of fun. First of all, you've got to kill the enemies for achievements anyways with each guitar. And then second of all, you actually get to rock out playing air guitar.
Yeah. And then, so I think to the point, so for the achievements, the ratio is not super high. It's a 1.5, which for Kinect, if you go back to the old days of 360, a 1.5 ratio means it's super easy. I think the worst achievement is the reach player rank 30, because you're beating each of the albums, and you do get to rock out on the album cover, so you do get to leave those. Now, are those downloadable, or can people only see them if you like share them on Beam?
I think you actually have to share it by taking screenshots or stream or something.
Oh, okay. So you get, so you finish the album, beat a boss, and then you get the cover screen taken. But then you actually have to get a certain amount of kills with each of the guitars. You unlock the guitars as you progress through the story. And then I think the only real thing after that was the reach player rank 30. And I don't think after you've played all of the albums and you've done all the guitar, you're still not going to beat a level 30.
No, I did peek at the guide, and basically they say you're going to be something in the range of probably like 15 to 20, depending on how many replays you gave it. Yeah. And then they just say you basically replay the first boss battle over and over, and you'll grind it out real quick.
Oh, okay. So
I'm sitting at player rank 13. I've got 3 albums to go. So
yeah, so I've gone through I think 3 of the 4 of the albums, which again, every time you go through it, I just find that really all that changed. It's still the side scrolling. It's still kind of everything's in essence the same, but you're now writing something different and you're shooting at something slightly different. Always metal though. So again, for that $20, Kinect title, it's got enough gameplay, and I think that pickup appeal. It's not a horrible price point. It's not I don't find it's like a smoking deal, but if, again, like as you said, you have a Kinect, you bought it, you've invested in it. If you're like, man, I want something for it, this isn't a bad use of the Kinect. I think they did a good job with it.
I completely agree. However, just because it's a $20 price tag, I would have a hard time recommending it to everybody. For me, I'd say it's kind of like almost like a conditional thing, just because of that price and the fact that you can complete the game in like a 4 to 5 hour time span. Yeah, it's gonna have some replay, but it's not gonna be something that you're gonna want to go back to every couple days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't find it's not quite where you want to. It's air guitar, so I'm not sure if you want to do it in front of your friends. Maybe you do. I don't know, but it's not the same pickup as like a rock star. Everybody's got instruments and they're going to gather around and we're all going to play. Yeah, air guitar. It feels more of like you're going to be playing this by yourself.
Oh yeah, this is the kind of stuff you do when no one's watching. The singing in the shower, in your car. You're rocking out air guitar in your living room.
Yeah, but at least now, if you've ever rocked out by yourself, this will now give you that stage that you were envisioning in your head in front of your eyes.
And if you want to be on an album cover, probably the best opportunity you'll ever have.
Yeah, I mean, some people use Photoshop, but hey, there's sure Guitar Connect. So I kind of agree with you on the, very conditional. If you're into these types of genre, if you're definitely a metalhead, if you want a good joke, you want to connect and just have sat there needing something to use it with, I'd say take a look at it. Check it out.
Oh, one little point I noticed, actually. If you are left-handed, you can actually change this so that you strum lefty and the game scrolls the other way. Kind of an interesting little addition.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, it is a game that has actually taken left-handers to heart. Not bad. So, all right. So with that, I guess we both kind of give it a conditional recommendation, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm glad we had fun with that. And so now we'll kick it over to Joe and Tarragon.
You're listening to Z to Z.
It's Tarragon here with Joe. Today we are reviewing Thimbleweed Park. This is a game developed by Terrible Toybox and is at the $19.99 US dollar price point. It is notable in particular because it is a game developed by Ron Gilbert, who was responsible for the original Maniac Mansion and I think Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders, Monkey Island games, and that sort of ilk. So if you happen to know that style of game, you probably already know what you're in for with Thimbleweed Park. But I'll hand over to Jo just for her initial sort of comments, and we'll get on to the review.
Cool, thanks, Tarragon. Okay, so this is a game that I was waiting with anticipation for because not only did I back it on Kickstarter, but I'm an absolute fan of point-and-click games. Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle. I just love those kind of games. So I was really excited when this came out, and I was like, I need to review this one. So and it hasn't disappointed so far.
Yeah, have you actually managed to finish the game through? Because I'm actually trying to avoid reading any guides or anything like that as I go through, and I'm not. I've gotten a bit of a way through, and I've managed to unlock all of the characters and so forth. But I'm just taking my time with it. I don't want to rush it. So
same here. I've done about 6 hours, which I've streamed. Which actually saved, so they'll be up on my YouTube channel. I was really happy about that, and I actually had viewers, so woohoo! So I've played about 6 hours. I have also unlocked all the characters. I'm sort of somewhere near the end of part 3, I believe.
I think we've both got about the same distance through then, I think.
Yeah, I'm also just taking my time and trying everything. I know I've missed some missable achievements already, but I don't care because I'm going to play it through again.
Yeah, I fully expect to make another run through of this and just kind of clean it up and do all the things that I missed the first time around. But it is if the Ron Gilbert style Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle kind of games are your thing, you probably do want to just run through this without a guide at least the first time. Although I got to say, it's not. I don't find it that easy. It's not like it's not obvious sometimes exactly what you got to do, and you do really have to kind of think about some of the puzzles to work through it, and even sometimes just work out what the puzzle is. I don't know if you found that.
I started it on hard, so I wanted the challenge.
Yeah, so did I actually. I kind of appreciate that because it's. That is exactly what you expect from this kind of game. So, just for people not really familiar with what a pure original point and click game is, I suppose we should sort of run through what that involves. In back in the day, in the original sort of PC era of, and even previous to that, games of the point and click genre is essentially you've got all your graphics on the screen and you've got a set of actions you can take, which are just listed there as actual words that you can click on, and then you've got your inventory. And you basically you talk to people or interact with things and try and sort of use things on other things and basically try and sort of work your way through puzzles and various dialogue trees and and that wouldn't sound terribly exciting except that the writing is really good. The humor in this game is phenomenal, and that's been one of the sort of the main highlights, I guess, of all of the Monkey Island games and previous games of that ilk. And this one in particular, I think, does some really good fan service as well. There are so many sort of references back to the sort of the Maniac Mansion era. I mean, one of the characters actually has the game is set in 1987, and so one of the characters actually has like a state-of-the-art Commodore 64 with 2 disk drives, and it's like, hey, I remember what that, and that was like when the original Maniac Mansion came out on that device. So, and just some of the programming humor. So it's just really sort of fourth wall breaking in some cases, and just lots of references back to previous games in a really humorous way. So, but it's really enjoyable.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, it's not just references back to previous games. No. It's also fan service to all the kinds of genres that geeks love. You know, there's several Twin Peaks references, which made me laugh. It's just really incredibly well put together. And it makes me kind of sad that the first patch they had to do was an option to turn off the in-jokes. That really makes me sad. Yeah, apparently there's now an option to turn off the in-jokes because people didn't get it. They thought it spoilt it, and I was just sitting, I was just playing it and just giggling to myself because it was just so brilliant. You know, you can call Edna. I mean,
yep.
You can check in as Robert Palmer. You know, I mean, it's just brilliant.
I think I checked in as Frank Zappa, but anyway, I'm actually having a lot of fun with this. Even when I get stuck, I'm not getting really frustrated with it. It's and I think just because you've got enough characters and they've actually all got a checklist of things to do, so you kind of look at that and go, okay, well, it gives you a bit of a pointer on where you should be trying to look for the next thing. So I've never really found myself. I haven't so far found myself completely stuck, although I can imagine it happening. It is one of those sorts of games. So I guess was there anything you sort of didn't like about the game, Joe? Was there any criticisms? Too many in-jokes?
No. I love the in-jokes. I love that the default orientation of the toilet paper is the correct way round. And there's an option to invert it because, you know, I'm totally on the side of it. It should go down by the wall because then you can't accidentally just roll it all out everywhere. There was actually a whole, I think, podcast that they did about that, and then they added in the option because there was a debate and a poll on Twitter and all that. I think I've gotten flummoxed a couple of times, but I then resort to, trying everything on everything and seeing what happens, but also taking a break away from the game and then coming back to it. I've had epiphanies. I was also quite pleased. I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's a hotel, but I figured out a thing in the hotel and it was just like, oh yes, I saw that item there, and then I can pick it up, and yes, that will work. Having lost several pieces of paper in the process of trying to figure it out. You possibly know where I'm at, or where I'm talking about.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I'm just
It's a bit hard to talk about any specifics without involving spoilers of some of the puzzles. So I guess we'll try and avoid that.
Yeah.
But so I guess the story here is it's essentially you have two federal agents arrive at Thimbleweed Park to work out a murder. Except that they've both got their own agendas and. And then things get weird.
It's really quite intriguing. I mean, you start off, you read the notepad, and you're like, what on earth is going on here? And I'm really excited to sort of find out what's happening with just Agent Ray and Agent Reyes. And I keep on getting their names mixed up because they're pretty much identical, but it's basically Mulder and Scully.
Yeah. If Scully was a very sarcastic, smoking federal agent, so I actually really like Ray. She's just like, "Yep, I'm not taking any crap."
Yeah.
And then there's Ransom the Clown, which I think has been it's a bit of a standout character for most of these reviews, but he's hilarious. everything that comes out of his mouth has a swear word in it. So, and of course, it's all censored out. So it's just like blah 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 beep blah blah blah.
And then suddenly, sometimes it's just beep 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 beep, which is kind of funny. I mean,
right on, yeah. So I guess if you're a fan of the genre, you're going to have a lot of fun with this game. I think. Even without the in-jokes, which of course are now optional, so that's fine. I guess my criticisms of the game, I'll go back one step. The actual art style is actually very reminiscent of the older styles of Monkey Island, Maniac Mansion era. So basically, all the characters are sort of big kind of bobble-headed guy like people, and all of the art style is very pixelated. It's kind of a modern pixelated, but it's still a pixelated. So it's very much they're basically making an older game in the current gen and making it look like it's an older game. So some people don't like that, so I just thought I'd mention that. So that is a possible turn-off for some people, but it really does harken back to that era, and it's a very loving. It's done very lovingly and very reminiscent of that particular period.
Yeah, it's a tribute. I think though it's worth pointing out that although it is pixelated, it's done in a way that it's not jarring, and the font that they use is actually really legible. So I think that's a good point to make, that, you know, it harkens back, it tributes to the old style, but it's very much, they've taken what they can do now and applied it so that it doesn't feel painful.
Yeah, so they've improved where where things needed to be improved.
Yeah.
I guess so. The one criticism of the game I would have would be in the controls. Now, I think the game was originally written for PC, and using a mouse to control the game makes absolute sense, and all of the old point-and-click games would have been controlled in that way. As I mentioned earlier, the controls work in the sense that you've got a list of actions you can take. You've got your inventory there. They're all at the bottom of the screen, except the way they've got the controls on the Xbox is that you've essentially got to move a pointer down to those, click on something, and then move up to wherever you want to click on the screen to do the action on that thing. They do have some shortcuts and some extra ways around it, but I feel that even having gone and actually read the help and read through the kind of shortcuts that they've got in there, I still find it a bit clunky to kind of get to some certain actions.
Yeah, mainly
fortunately,
picking stuff up.
There is a default action for things, which is good in general. It'll do the action that you last selected and that sort of stuff. But it is, I reckon, it could have been a little bit better. I'm not quite sure how, but I think there's another 6 buttons that weren't used on the controller. I think so. Those could have been potentially used for that sort of control. So I guess that's my only real criticism of it, is that just selecting the right actions in the right order and that sort of thing can be a little bit clunky at times, and I often get mixed up with the default action and the current action, and so I'll kind of pick an action, go and highlight the thing that I want to do that action on, but then I hit the X button and it does the default action on it rather than the action I've just selected, so I then have to go back and go and select the action I want. And I've done that too many times now, and it's just a little frustrating.
Yeah, I keep on looking at the doors instead of opening the doors, and then wondering why I can't get into the room.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, because you kind of expect that, okay, some things will just do a thing when you do it in one way or not the other way. So I guess that could be streamlined a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty minor criticisms. There's so much to love about the game anyway. You kind of overlook that, and that's pretty minor frustrations overall. It's not usually getting in the way of my enjoyment of the game, and I'm certainly not finding myself putting down the game because of those kind of things. How about you? Did you have anything you sort of didn't like about the game?
No, I mean, you can run, which is quite cool, and the default action is good. I mean, I played In a World last week, and compared to that, it's tons better, because you don't have to cycle through all the hotspots. Yeah, no. I mean, yes, I understand. Picking up items is painful, but at least opening doors and looking at stuff is it's been simplified, which I do appreciate. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one other thing I was going to say, and it's gone from my mind, so it mustn't be that important. I guess let's. Well, I guess we can wrap it up there. Really, if you're a fan of the genre, I would absolutely go and buy it. It's actually, I think, cheap for what you get in it. I think I'm pretty sure there's at least another 5 or 6 chapters worth of content that I haven't actually got to yet. So for the fact that I've already put 5 or 6 hours into it and gotten as far as I have. I don't feel. I mean, I've actually bought the game for myself. It's you're playing the review copy, I think. So
yes, but I did back it, so I do have a copy.
That's fair enough. Yeah. So okay. So and I don't regret spending the money on it at all. If you're a fan of Ron Gilbert sort of style humor and those kind of games, you would absolutely love this game, and I highly recommend picking it up.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the completion estimate on TA is 15 to 20 hours, and for $20, that's fairly. That's actually really good value for money. I just want to mention that it's Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick, and they both worked together on Maniac Mansion and the original Monkey Island stuff. Right. Everyone always focuses on Ron Gilbert and the other guy that does Double Fine, but Gary Winnick's also very important there. What was the other thing? I guess the achievement list. I haven't really looked at it because I've been trying to avoid spoilers. So you've had a brief look over it. There are a number of missables, I gather. Yeah, there are some fun missables for doing, fun point and click things for using items. I think there are 33 achievements in total. I've got 12 so far in my 6 hours. There are my favorite ones of them is as you've been playing through the game, I don't know if you've noticed the specks of dust on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And have been picking them up. So there is actually an achievement for collecting 75 specks of dust, and you get one at 25 and one at 50 as well. So I get very excited every time I see a speck of dust.
And a couple of the characters actually have items on the checklist to pick up 49 more or 50 specks of dust and things like that. And they're going, what? Why?
Yeah, because I think that's the total number of specks of dust in the game. And that number goes down when you pick up a speck of dust with any of the characters. But
really? I didn't notice that.
I don't think all of the characters can pick up specks of dust, but it's really quite good. I mean, you've got the standard storyline achievements. I really need to flag this game for each, or when you start each part, which is interesting, not for completing it, for starting it.
So that's for the bean divers out there is a nice quick achievement.
Yeah, it's really easy. Literally, you just go through the you've got the panorama thing at the beginning, and that's it. Then you get your achievement. I believe you need to do 2 playthroughs. To get all the achievements. And there are 2 difficulty levels, which I don't believe stack because it's you have different puzzles to solve. But as you need 2 playthroughs, it's really simple just to pick the other difficulty, which is casual and gives you a lot of hand-holding. It's definitely, I think, not onerous to play it through twice. I'm sure you'll discover stuff. And
I'm sure if you're just there to burn the points, then I'm sure there are already walkthroughs out there to go through all of it.
Yeah.
Or if there aren't, they won't be far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's a thumbs up from me and a thumbs up from you.
Oh, 2 thumbs up, and big toes as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Tarragon.
Finish it up there. All right.
Bye.
Till next week.